Hello, my name is Michael J. Russ, and this is the Life Moves podcast. And today I have a very special guest. Her name is Kathy Thomas. Kathy Thomas is a very unique individual and somebody who I deeply admire, and I've only known her for a couple of months. And Kathy is the owner of Kathy Thomas Photography in Nashville, Orlando, and worldwide. She also started a project that has been very fulfilling to her in Nashville called Collective 615. And we're going to talk about that as well. Kathy, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you to all your listeners for tuning in and listening to this little journey.
You're on the show for one real reason, okay? Because, and I've been thinking about this. I'm
preparing myself.
You emanate the foundation of what Life Moves podcast is really all about. This podcast is about helping people be the best and most powerful version of themselves each and every day. And all the good feelings and success and prosperity and all areas of our life that goes along with that. And I sensed from the moment that I met you that you were that kind of person that really oozed that the best and most powerful self, that you really and based on some of the things you told me, that I really want you to just kind of let us know kind of how you got to where you are. But that's really what I sensed from you. So the first thing I really want to know is, how did Kathy Thomas get to where she is today?
Oh, big question. Oh, that may have to take a moment. That's a great question. Do you ask that to everybody?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
Yep. Listen. I'm simply telling you that it's important sometimes to kind of get a little background. You don't have to go deep.
No, I love it. Oh, I won't.
But it really, nuts and bolts are one thing, but really the foundation of things, it's the reason why you got here is important.
No, absolutely. I mean, and it's important why I stay here, to be truthful with you. I would say, to sum it up honestly, like if it was my elevator pitch, if I had 15 seconds of someone's time, if I had a bulletin board or billboard to write it on, it was truly this. I think I've always lived my life with the thought of I'd like to always try something once. I also live my life very much if I see someone else is fully capable, that breathes the air I breathe, 2 arms, 2 legs, and some even not, that I can also do this. Like I could figure it out. We don't wake up and are gifted, whatever it is that we do, we learn it. And sometimes it's by chance, but it's a learning thing. So I would say how I got to where I'm at today. I say this a lot, and I've said it a lot in my journey because I think it's very true. I really let fear be my fuel, where a lot of people, fear will cripple them a bit. And I watch it in my friends. I'm like the go-to friend. Hey, I'm getting a promotion. I need to walk through this offer with you. Hey, I'm thinking about making this move to another city or another country. Kathy, I need to talk to you. And so I've really been one of those people, like, if it scares me a bit, I want to try it. I want to dig in and discover a little bit more, because I feel like fear is all mental, right?
True.
And so for me, how I got here was constantly, and I'll talk about my journey as we go through this. Everything I have done was not because it was something I was taught, studied, naturally gifted with. So then I just went with the flow. I'm not a big go with the flow. I mean, and sometimes I'm all over the place. So with that said, I'm a little all over the place, but it really was, to sum it up, if it scares me a bit, I want to give it a try. And obviously with fear, it's not everything. Like, basketball scares me, I'm not going to try to be a basketball player, but if it scares me, puts me on my comfort zone a little bit, I want to give it a go. And my friends in my community will joke. They're like, I don't think that you fail at anything you try, but I also don't try anything I think I'm going to fail at. So I'm like, wait a minute. It goes back to this. I know I have the capacity, I have the means, whatever that might mean. So I'm going to give it a try. There's things like, I don't ski. I tried it one time. I don't get it. I don't know why. So like, I snowboard and I nailed it. I was like, why haven't I been trying to snowboard this whole time?
Wow.
Because I felt like that made more sense to me. And everyone's like, but you nailed snowboarding. I was like, I know, but that's why I don't ski. Like, I don't need to try skiing to overcome it. I'm not someone that looks at something and goes, can I spend a year perfecting it or figuring out how to do it? I'm more like, does this create fire and passion in my heart? Does it get me excited every day? And does it challenge me to make me super uncomfortable?
That's interesting. I like that.
Mhm,
I think that's a
mhm.
brilliant way of going about it. It also means that you're deeply connected to how you feel about what you do or what you're exposed to.
Yeah.
And that is missing in a lot of people. A lot of people I come across have a lot of anxiety based fears. Fear about the future.
Yes.
But if I do that thing and I don't succeed, I fear that possibility. I fear I might hurt myself. Well, of course, if you're going to bungee jump, there's always a possibility. You fear it. However, a little common sense might be in order, right?
Yep.
So, when I was 7 years old and I was beating on furniture all around the house rhythmically, and my mother said, "This kid needs to go to the Oak Club drummer and learn how to play drums." Turns out that I
Mhm.
have an intuition for playing drums. And the first thing the guy did after the second lesson was put me in front of the entire Saturday night dinner crowd and play a couple of songs. So,
Yep.
that you look at that, and to this date, I got to tell you what I get the most joy out of. I get the most joy out of actually when I'm wherever I am in the world, if there's a live band playing, going up to them and saying, "Hey, can I sit in a couple of songs?" And
It's
the guys
amazing.
look at me and they go, "Sure." They don't know who the heck I am. They don't know what my capabilities are. They don't know if I'm going to embarrass their group. And it doesn't even matter if they speak the same language. I've done it in Brazil. I've done it in Costa Rica. I've done it in Mexico,
Yeah.
Cancun, wherever. And I sit in with these guys and I don't even know what song they're going to. Usually they say, "Oh, we're going to play this song." And I'm going, "Okay, just tell me just a couple quickly, fast, slow, blues, rock." And they go, "Okay, it's this kind of thing." I'm great. And I used to play with a guy, an old blues player. I'm talking about somebody who was like 80 years old, used to play with all the
Mhm.
greats back in the South, Mississippi.
Yeah.
And he would call me. I was his sit-in drummer when his normal guy couldn't make it. He said, "Mike, can you come down?" He can't make it. I come down and be there and sit down. And he'd say, "Yeah, we're gonna do this," and I'm just gonna listen. I don't know the name of the song. Just tell me, is it a blues? Is it a 4/4 blues? Is it stop time? Is it you say 4/4 blues with stop time? I said great, no problem. So boom, 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 pick it up, keep going, go through, and it. Are you afraid a little bit in front of a crowd to play a song that you've never
Oh
heard of
yeah.
before? Oh, it can be very scary. However, it's akin to what I believe you're saying is that there is a certain rush that comes from challenging yourself to do something that you've got enough ability in there to be able to
Mhm.
master, to do well, and you're listening to your own inner guidance as to whether or not on those things that like skiing versus snowboarding.
Mhm. Yep.
Brilliant move there, I gotta say, brilliant move.
Yep.
But really, here's the thing. I know a little about you from what you told me, and you spent 15 good long years working in corporate America. And there's a lot of people out there who work in corporate America. I've never worked in corporate America,
Mhm.
and I'm 63 years old. So I want to
Wow.
know, because you went from corporate America structure, and I hear you talk, and you've got all the bells and whistles, the nuts and bolts of corporate America down,
Mhm.
obviously applying to your business. But you've gone from a corporate structure to your own structure where you've had to be self-motivated, self-actualized. You've had to creatively put everything together, a photography business. And yes, it was a passion of yours, not one that you had really gone out on. But I've seen your website, and I'm going to tell you, that's a little more than, "Hey, I'm passionate about this." That's really good stuff. Okay. That's
Thank you.
really awesome stuff. So what was the mindset? You had to make that leap. And I'm just interested in,
Mhm.
for the sake of audience because a lot of people are doing jobs they don't like. Listen, they're doing it for the money. It's
Yeah,
just,
I mean, you saw the new report that just came out. They have a huge report, people are leaving their jobs. I mean, I think 7% of Americans left their jobs in
Mhm.
2020 to pursue their own endeavors.
Right. And a lot of them were women. A lot of them were women.
Absolutely.
I think it was like
Yep.
4 million women started their own business last year or something. It's some
Yes.
insane number.
Yes.
What was your mindset really when you decided to make that switch? That's what I'm interested in.
Yeah, I mean, I remember it was very clear. I remember like it was a thought I had like yesterday.
Mhm.
And, I think the biggest thing for me was I've always had really good work ethic. Um, and maybe not always the best ethic. Like sometimes I would work and hustle and work like a dog. And obviously that's not always the answer, being,
Sure.
more productive and having better systems in place. And I'd always create like little workarounds to get in, to avoid, not looking successful because I'd have to do workarounds, but I didn't mind putting in the hours and the extra time and delegating and asking for help. So I've always been that person. And it really came down to this. Like, I would love for it to be some big epiphany or, God came to me and spoke to me. But it was really, I had been in my career for 3 different companies, same role over a period of time. And I loved all of them. I never thought I'd leave each of them as I did leave them. And the biggest thing for me was I thought after I had a daughter, I think there was like, in my corporate world, New York City, a lot of the conversation was like, will this person leave because they're having a baby? Will this person do this because, all because they're having a child? And all of it was like less of what they're doing now to do more of what their future looks like. And I was never one that's like, oh, I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom. That was not a desire of mine. But the one thing that did happen is I had that moment of, now that I have a daughter and I'm only having one child, I knew that. When she grows up, does she want to say, my mom worked long, hard, and was very successful for another company? Or my mom created something of her own and worked long, hard, and was successful at it? And it was literally a dialogue I had with myself. And I thought, well, what skill set do I have to start my own business? So I truly was going to open up a boutique, and something like you said you did in the 80s. I was going to open up like a little mini giftable home goods shop, because I've always been attracted to all those like little giftable shops and stuff like that. And I always thought it's great. I go and I do the birthday presents, I grab stuff, it makes me happy, brings me joy. I love the card section. I'll sit and laugh at a good card for a while. So I was actually on the journey and meeting with realtors to find my ideal boutique space. And in that interim, my husband had bought a professional camera for me after our wedding. And we bought it off of another photographer. So it's all set up for manual. And he's like, you love photography. And by that, I loved photographs. So if I go to the museum, I love to go to the photo section. I love coffee table books. I love street photography that tells a story and you feel an emotion. It doesn't mean I knew how to handle a camera. So he's like, well, I want to buy you a camera. Like, this is what we're going to do. You're going to get a camera. You'll figure it out because you love photography. Now it's time for you to produce photography. And so I was playing around, obviously, Facebook, posting photos. And my real estate agent said, hey, whose photos are on your Facebook page? And I was like, what do you mean photos? I was like, oh, those are mine. He's like, would you take a photo of my family? I was like, I really don't know what I'm doing, but sure. And I did it. And it was challenging. It was a Black family they were all 3 different colors of Black, which was beautiful. And that was challenging all in itself, for like color, white balance, post-processing, all the things I never thought I'd be challenged with. And it was that second I was like, wow, that felt really good to capture something that was so joyous and exciting and give it to someone as a gift for forever, right? I'm gifting them their memories. And then short after that, one of my employees had a photographer back out of her on her wedding. And she was like, hey, would you shoot my wedding? And I was like, absolutely not. Like, that is, I covered that up pretty high. Like, you need a professional. They need to be very well versed. It came down to, I was like, okay, I'll do it. And it was chaotic. So many things went wrong. But at the end of the day, it was that fear, right? I went in so scared, but on the other side of it, and I think you hit on it earlier, and I just realized it as you were talking, is that the fear leads me in, but the idea of the pleasure that can come on the other inside of it is what I'm heading for. So I'm going in because I'm a little scared, but excited, but really I'm staying and I'm going after it because I want the pleasure that lives on the other side of it. The ability to serve others, the ability to bring joy to others, to help others in some capacity. And it was that. So that was New Year's Eve. And I left my company March 26th.
Oh man, that's amazing.
And then I said to myself, I really need to learn how to shoot photography because I don't even know how to, like, if I don't know how to shoot. I've never shot before. This is just me spending 6 months teaching myself whatever I know. And so then I just started asking anyone if I could shoot for them. And I just kept on learning in the field.
I think that's absolutely amazing. It is, a lot of people do want to make that jump. A lot of people fear that jump. For a lot of people, I don't think it's so much belief in themselves as sometimes it's just simply economics. Either they have lots of student loans, they have debt that they have bills they have to pay. Some places where they live, it's extremely expensive to live, and going out on your own means if you don't, it means you're actually spending up all your savings trying to make it happen. And I know some of the most amazing success stories are when people just took the leap of faith and did whatever it is that they did. What I get from your story, which is so phenomenal, is that you created this little intention, the little intention there, and then you paid attention to the things that actually validated that intention. And that's where a lot of people, that's the move that a lot of people they're so caught up in the fear of the possibility of failure that they are unaware of when life says, okay, you create this intention to go out on your own and be a photographer. You love the idea, husband bought you a camera, that's really great and everything. And someone says, hey, would you shoot this for me? Because I really need this to happen. And this person backed out, the photographer backed out. And you could have said, of course, as you thought about first thought, your initial thought was no way, right?
I mean, I said no way. Yeah.
Okay, no, I call this, this is really what I call a sovereign pivot. That's something that's my term for it, a sovereign pivot, because our initial perception of ourselves and the circumstances that we're involved in can be negative. And that's not important. That's okay. That is all right. We're human beings. We're going to not like something, right? However, at some point, you pivoted to, maybe I can do this. Was that it? Was that the thought that went through your head? Maybe I can do this?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. How would I feel if I didn't try?
Okay. Yeah. Good. All right.
It wasn't.
That's
I
awesome.
honestly didn't think of what's going to happen if I crush this and I'm awesome. I thought, how am I going to feel if this is my only opportunity? Who else is going to ask someone who literally has a camera they don't even know how to like turn into auto? They were like, I was like, how do I put this on auto? And and I obviously could have Googled it.
It was like everything you
the
need to
thing.
learn. Yeah. Well, listen.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, it's in manual, so I'm going to learn how to shoot manual. I'm going to figure this out. But it was really more of, if this is the only time I get one person to ask me to shoot their wedding, I mean, I covet that role. My photographer was one of the best in the world. But someone's going to give me a chance. I'm like, if I pass this up, will I get the chance again?
Okay, this is beautiful.
I don't want to live in that. I don't want to live in, what if I don't get this window again? Because then, right, here's the deal. I quit my corporate job, and then I'm trying to find clients, and I'm trying to say, hey, someone give me a chance. I'll do it for cheap. I'll do it for less. I'll do it for this. And then I'm setting a bar of what I'm worth.
Right.
This was someone just saying, hey, can you do this for me? And it was a beautiful wedding. Like, here's the thing, great venue, beautiful dress, beautiful family. It was gorgeous. And I thought, when will I be asked this again? And it's kind of been led me, even going into my previous career, they had recruited me before, and it is one of the top luxury brands in the world.
Right.
And I said no. And when they came back again, I truly said to them, I guess people don't tell you no twice, right? And they're like, not usually. And I was like, okay, this is my yes. Because again, that was way out of my comfort zone because I'd never worked in luxury. And I was going to the top luxury company in the world, coming out of a denim brand. You know what I mean? And so it was, well, what if I say, what's on the other side of this that I might miss out on?
It's also that they saw something in you didn't see in yourself.
100%.
They must have. But I'm going to take a step back here a second, because you actually exemplified something that I call a successful response. I did a couple episodes back, I think episodes 5 and 6 of this particular podcast were about a successful response. And I first initiated it, I actually wrote about it in my book, Zero Adversity. Successful response is when you respond, when you actually have something that's well within your control to do. And so, well, excuse me, let me back up. If you can take action on something and it will make an impact, then you must do it. Otherwise, you'll have negative
Agree.
feelings about it. That's a successful
Yes.
response. And that's exactly what you did. You actually said to yourself that I can do this. You kind of went in it from the opposite, and you said, I'm gonna regret not doing this, right? Because regret is one of those things that we have when we should have done something and we didn't. And you basically said, I don't want to feel that way, which is a really, really evolved thought process, right? It is. It's a huge.
I mean, I'll tell you, I would rather fail than regret. To me, is empty. It's lonely. It's disappointment. You know, like when your parents, we used to joke when I was in high school, where like the worst thing your parents could say to you is the D word. You know, and it was a joke amongst my friends. We're like, did your parents use the D word? They're like, yes. I said, they were disappointed in me. So I think for me is failure. You'll move on from failure. You'll have wins. Like failures comes and goes, you know what I mean? But regret, that lives with you forever. I have an example. I have a couple friends. I've always wanted to skydive. And now I'm just like, I don't need to skydive because I actually bungee jumped a lot. So it's funny you said that. And I got arrested bungee jumping one time. And so the thing was, you know, I've had two of my good friends who have gone up in the plane twice. Both of these friends, they don't know each other, have gone up in the plane twice with friends. The friends have jumped and they've chickened out, both of them. And it's funny, this was like in our 20s. And I have this conversation. One lives in California, one lives in New York. And I have the same conversation. I always say they're like soul sisters. And they always still talk about this 20 years later. Still talk about the regret of not jumping, because when they're with their friends 20 years later, they all talk about the thrill of that jump.
Right.
Every time, that whole day,
and
the whole next day after
it,
they're like, we jumped. Oh my God. And you felt this and I felt this. That was the coolest thing. And let's do it again. And they never did it. So they said, I'm not part of that conversation. I was there. I was in the plane. I was almost to that experience, but I can't share that experience because I never got the thrill. And so I had something that I was part of, but in a sudden rush, I thought of the now, not the after.
That's a very good point. That is a really good point. So you've moved on from your luxury brand. You've started your own business in photography. Obviously, you've become very successful. Again, I've seen your website and I've seen the work that you do, and it's phenomenal. And I love your work in black and white, by the way. I really do. A lot of
you
people,
might be too.
Yeah, I mean, there's something about the nuance, the noir of black and white photography, shadows, things that I mean, we take color for granted sometimes and think, oh yeah, it's color, so it's great. However, the nuances of black and white are completely different, and it can convey a message that is completely different than color. And so kudos to you for using that.
Thank you.
Now you've moved on to, well, no, not to say moved on. You actually had another yearning. You had another yearning, and I want you to really kind of just explain to our audience what that yearning was and what you did about
it. Okay, that's a great way to put it. It was a yearning. Let me talk a little bit about how I got to that, because there's a little bit of a road that, like, you know, got me to that crossroad where all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, something's missing from this journey. And so when, you know, I was like, no, like everyone else, I don't think there's one person you're ever going to speak to when they think about working from home and working from themselves has a little bit of thrill and excitement about like, oh, I can go to lunch with my friends when I want to. Like, no one's managing my time. No one is telling me when to come sit in the office, when to leave the office. I don't have to sit in the office and wait for my boss to leave first before I leave. So I am going to live the ultimate freedom life, right? What I realized really fast when I left corporate America and having 375 employees and having thousands of touch points with humans every day, all the time, was I was made to be in a community. We as people are made to be in community. And so when that was taken away from my decision to leave and become a solopreneur in just one business, one employee, I didn't have community anymore. I had clients, And so I tried to dive into that as my community, but I no more had sounding boards, people holding me accountable, a schedule. And quickly I realized what a burden someone's house becoming their office became, and how it became less of a home. And everything starts to become very liquid and it just runs together. And I took the time to realize, like, I don't want to wake up and step into my office, in my house. Like, that was just, where are my people? Where's the energy? And honestly, also I'm in the industry of service,
Right.
but I'm sitting in my own house. How do I provide service or get to meet new people to provide service to if I'm not around people?
Correct.
And so I quickly moved into a very small environment, 5 people in a little home downtown in a, commercial zoned area. And it transitioned me. So that was my first year. And I have to tell you something funny. I pulled up a photo, July 8th, 2015. I moved into my first office. And office meaning little collective co-working space where everyone had their own little companies. They were their one solo company and we shared a building. But it was so much more than that. We shared accountability, even though we weren't accountable to each other.
Mm-hmm.
It was still like, who's getting in here first, who's leaving first, who's actually eating a lunch. And then we started sharing resources, which was our clients. Like, hey, I need what you're offering and you're right here. I want to give it to you. Wait a minute, you have something I need. Wait, I want to introduce you to somebody. So all of a sudden you create like this little referral base and this little accountability base, but it's still on your own terms. And that's the part I think people go out because they want to live on their own terms, but then they're closed off from everything that once was the reason that drove them to their greatness in the first place. Mm-hmm. And so that happened to me 100%. I stayed there for 4 years and then I moved into a bigger building. And this building had like marketplace on the bottom and a really great coffee shop and catering company and event space. And I just got more and more exposure to things I would have never had exposure for that brought me more joy. I got introduced to the luxury real estate market. And I started shooting real estate. I started shooting editorial for magazines because there were publishing houses in the building with me. And they'd walk by and be like, wait, you do photography? And I still remember one day they were like, can you connect me with someone who shoots real estate? And I said, well, what does this job pay? And they told me, oh, we'd like to pay about this much. And I thought, how about this? I'm going to try to shoot real estate for you. And if you don't like it, we've wasted no one's time. I'm going to go in, I'm going to do it. We'll try it like it's a working interview. But if you love it, then you'll pay me and I'll start shooting real estate for you. And I shot real estate for 5 years for one company. Yeah. And that was my Monday through Friday. And I loved it. And it was luxury real estate and it was beautiful. And so it was one of those things where like, I was Googling, I was like, what equipment? And I'm like overnight shipping equipment from B&H. And I'm like, I have to be ready in 2 days to shoot this 7,000 square foot, $4 million home. I have to be ready. And so it's this again, scared. I mean, I had no clue. I was calling friends. I'm like, okay, how do you bracket shoot? How did they get this image? And then I didn't even know how to edit it. I was going to get the photos taken. I had no clue yet. Well, What do I do once I have them? Because it's not like anything else. But it goes back to this. And I never realized until we spoke just now, is that I was so scared, like to where like, should I back out? Should I back out? Should I call a friend who actually does this? But I was more scared of missing out on what it would feel like on the other side if I crushed this and lost hundreds of thousands of dollars yearly and just shooting something that for the first time wasn't people. You know what I mean? This is me not shooting people for the first time. And that again was scarier to me than giving it a try. So love that environment, opened up doors for me. I moved to Nashville.
Yeah.
And in Nashville, like you went into a city that thrives off of entrepreneurs. It's truly remarkable. The second I stepped foot in Nashville, I started meeting amazing women running big companies and small companies with big volume. And there's all these networking groups and ways to connect. And I was like, but where do you all work? Like, I get that I get to come have a glass of wine with you in the evening time once a month, but like, where do you work? Where do you sit? Like, where do you find new clients? And all of them were like, from home. And I was like, well, I've already tried that option and it doesn't work for me. So I moved into a tiny little space, 5 people again, kind of went back 5 people again. And the address wasn't right. The price was right, but the address wasn't right. Then I moved into another space and I'd never jumped around like this. And it was a great community of people. I met some amazing people, but it didn't really reflect my brand. So I thought, well, someone has to do something about this. The WeWorks were opening up, the Industriouses were opening up, and I went and worked in them and I love the business model. but I thought these are 50 to 60, 70,000 square foot. Like to me, my business is service based. It's an intimate thing. There, it's just, I'm a number. And so I finally was like, if no one's going to do this, it has to be me. And I started on a journey of finding what I was going to hope was going to be a tiny little co-working space for 20 people, which grew into, we have 105 members now. And I opened up Tennessee's first co-working space for women 5 weeks before we closed down for the pandemic.
Amazing, incredible. And
Thank you.
what resonates with me with what you said there is how you kept refining your model. And you know, it's interesting. I'll take a step even further, because I've been working out of my home office in one building or another since 2003. And I am a social character. I'm a social character. For me, it wasn't, I don't interact so much with this community around here as I do interact with people in Zoom and people on the phone. I talk to people on the phone all the time, but I've gotten to a point in my life where I enjoy my solitude and my creative time as I produce a podcast behind me here at my podcast studio, and videos outside. And I'm out at 4 o'clock, 4:30 around the city in various places down on 30A, meeting people like yourself. I just want to simply, I want to tell people how I met you, and I do want to do that.
Okay, let's do it.
Just take a second here to tell you, I had eaten at Pescados on the rooftop, taken my girlfriend to brunch. We came down, went around there. I said, well, let's go get a glass of wine at La Crema. And I've met some of the most fabulous people, by the way, at La Crema that are still friends of mine years later. And at the bar, you know, just having a glass of wine. I'm a social butterfly. I like to, if I'm sitting next to somebody, I want to know who they are. I want to know how they feel about life. And you know, and I do that in I've become very adept at finding that out in a few minutes. Like between the time that my girlfriend goes to the bathroom and comes back, I know all that information, right? So I introduce her to him, and she goes, how did you find all that? How long was I gone? You know, did I walk into a vortex and you had this hour-long conversation with them? And it's just like knowing the right questions to ask people, letting them tell you what you want to know about them, right? So I was coming down and I walked evidently past you. The first time I walked past you
from afar,
across the street, I didn't really see
like
you.
100 feet. It was far.
Yeah. And then I walked back and you were standing right there taking photography. And I think I said hello to you and talked about this. It's a great place to shoot photography. And you said, yes, it is. And then I walked back and around the corner, and I got 3 steps on the other side of the building, and I stopped all of a sudden. I was like, I got the sense that I needed to go back and connect with you. I needed to go, and I turned around, walked back around the corner, and came right up to you. And I don't know, I think I was dumbfounded at that particular point, but it's just like the feeling was so strong that I needed to connect with you. Like the universe had said, it said, you cross a path once, nope, you cross it again, no, wait a minute, get him back there. So tell him to get back around the corner. And I was like, yeah. So I left my girlfriend sitting at the bar with a glass of wine for what had to be 20 minutes.
I mean, you let me photograph you. I was like, and can I photograph you?
Yes, and you took some wonderful photography. And I know why I actually turned around and went back there. I needed to find out if that's what you did for a living. And I said, I think I told you that I needed some newer photos because look at this hair. It's like, you know, I used to color my hair and I stopped doing it 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's a matter of acceptance.
It was a good call.
Acceptance. You know, I'm 63 and I've been prematurely gray for 20 years. What the heck? Let's just let it out. Let it all hang out. So at any rate, that's how I met you. And it's been an awesome, we haven't connected that much since that time, but the connections have been, the conversations have been really deep and very meaningful to me, I know, and hopefully for you as well. And it's the idea, jumping back now to the collective, because I love the idea. I've never seen it before. I've never heard of it. And I've said before, years ago when I worked for myself and I was like in an office or I was at home working, whatever, it would be really cool to have that kind of networking situation. I mean, that's a model that should be duplicated in every city in America, because
Absolutely, I
the
agree.
idea of people coming together, people coming into the same room, having that interaction. I mean, they're talking about this now on the business programs about how people have been at home and they need to be back at the water cooler talking about ideas
Yes.
and throwing things out there, throwing some stuff up against the wall and seeing what sticks. You can't do that at home. It's not possible.
No.
But there are certain businesses that you're in where you need to connect with people. I've been connecting with people by going out and having a sense of
And
awareness.
picking them up on the street.
Yeah, basically, or at bars. I pick them up at bars. But I have a sense of who I'm supposed to connect with. And as a speaker, I've gotten several speaking gigs from connecting with people in the strangest places. Literally the strangest places. But they're places where I'm supposed to be, because I don't believe in accidents or coincidences. So I don't believe it was an accident. Was it a coincidence? People, no. I don't believe in coincidence. They're not part of my modus operandi of life. It's just we connect. So the concept of being able to be aware enough and to actually kind of have a sense of our own fear and moving beyond that fear in a very calculated and an intentional way. Sometimes it's not necessarily just jumping off a cliff and to see if you can fly. It's a function of, it's a calculated move.
It is calculated, yes. Again, I don't ski.
Right.
I don't play basketball, but I rock at volleyball, even at 5'2". You know what I mean? It's one of those things where you're calculated is like, do I have the skill set? Can my body do this? Like, even if it means I have to train a bit, teach it something new, but can it function in that capacity? I think that's what it is. And I think it goes back to what you said. You said about unusual places. Like, I feel like collective is the unusual place. Nobody here has the same job, and some of us do. Nobody has the same business model, for sure. No two people are the same. And we are literally in a space every day. We show up with other work. Some run a legal firm and they're lawyers. Some are in nonprofit. There's me, who is a photographer. Another one is a financial advisor. Another girl has a braided company where they have these beautiful trucks and they go around, they braid girls' hairs for wedding. Another girl has a portable mobile tanning service. So you step into her Mercedes Airstream and you come out tan. It's like brilliant, right? She comes to your home, she comes to your party, your event, she spray tans everyone. And just amazing, sitting around these women who are creating these companies to solve a problem or provide a service for other people. And now you put us all in the same room and we'd all use each other's service in some capacity, whether we do use it personally or for a client or for someone in our life. And you watch it just happen with having a bunch of women that just sit there and go get coffee together. And it's like, well, what do you do? And then a week later, I see them in a breakout room strategizing on the board because they're going to introduce each other to each other's clients.
Okay.
And that's the
amazing.
magic of, like, that's what you're doing in a bar. They're doing here. They're showing up in a safe environment. Men can come into our space. They come into all of our meeting spaces. A lot of men rent our space because, as you see it, because we're Zooming, it's a beautiful space. We're a 1929 historic hosiery factory. All of our furniture is pink and it's all office furniture, but it's custom fabrics and design. We have a kitchen that makes a lot of sense. And so it really brings a lot of people together. And I got asked one time, like, well, what are you passionate about? So I used to say I was passionate about photography, and that's how I got there. Was I would stand at the Met for hours and just look through all the street photography. I mean, I could talk about all the street photographers of like the 40s, 50s, and just the story that's told in one snap. And I was just intrigued my whole life. And that was my passion, was to just look at photography. It wasn't to shoot photography, and people get confused on that. I love photographs, and they were all black and white. If I could only shoot black and white, that would be like my dream. And because in black and white photos, the color turns off. You take away the color, you turn off the noise, and then you only see the moment. You only see the character in people. You only see the intention. When you have color, your eyes are stimulated, but it's a different thing happening in a color photo versus a black and white. The black and white closes out the noise. It's like turning off social media and sitting down and having a glass of wine with someone. Social media relationships are noisy. really noisy relationships, sitting down having a glass of wine with someone with not your phone not present, that there's more depth, there's more intention, you see stuff that you don't see on social. And so here, when people say, what's your passion? And my passion is connecting people. I mean, the second I met you, what was the first thing I wanted to do? I have 5 other women you need to interview. I have 5 other people, and I never thought of that because I always thought I was a competitive person because I was a college athlete, I played sports, everything. I really just want everyone to connect, and I want to be the reason for someone's joy or win. Like, I want to be on that journey with them, if not riding shotgun, but I want to be part of the solution and reason they win at life or they win at a goal. And so when I see people where I'm like, I can't do anything for you, but I'm going to connect you with someone that can. That really is my true passion in life, is placing people together intentionally, because if they don't get placed together, I know the world's going to miss out on something.
That's awesome. I think the journey of your life has put you in exactly the right place. And people sometimes kind of forget about how the pieces of the puzzle fit together to get them where they are. There is that journey. You pick up certain elements of thought along the way. You pick up certain skills. You develop certain skills, which to me, being happy is the process of maintaining your happiness, creativity, your inspiration. That is a skill in its own right. The skill is not letting the noise, the chaos, and the toxicity interrupt that flow. That's really what it's about. It's not allowing things to get
hardest part of all.
And you have a very cool way of doing that. And I love the idea. I can envision that every one of your women in the collective just love getting out of bed in the morning and coming into that office. I think that I can envision how they'd just be running to get there, because the synergy, the energy in the place has to be phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And I'm kind of looking forward to just experiencing.
I can't wait for you to come.
Standing around, just closing my eyes and just feeling the energy in that place. Just you've created such a nucleus of creative, inspirational energy and connective, relationally connective energy that can help people. I always said that if you take yourself and you place yourself in a situation where you're exposed to the energies, because we're all who we're with. You are who you are with. And you've created a situation where you come from, you put yourself with people who have the same synergies and connectedness as you. And I don't care if you came from an introverted situation, or you haven't been so connected with people in the past. You put yourself in that situation, you learn new skills.
100%.
You elevate your level of conscious awareness, and you have it's not a complainingville, so to speak. It's a place where you can actually connect with somebody and talk about a challenge, and they have an idea that can help you overcome that challenge, that you can learn from other people.
Absolutely.
How they've become successful and watch them be successful. So I think it's awesome. I said to myself, the women in your collective are owning their sovereignty. They are performing the alchemy they need to perform every single day. They're continually mastering those life skills, the life moves that they need to move forward. I don't know how much I can add to that. Maybe just make it more intentional, kind of create some objective behind it instead of being subjective. Maybe kind of put some framework around it so they can intentionally do things much more quickly.
Absolutely.
However, the nucleus is it's already there. It's already there, and I love it. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm going, why hasn't somebody else done this? Anywhere else? I mean,
and it has been done, I think, with different intentions, and I think that's where maybe we set apart from the norm, is the intention. So, I would love for your listeners to know one thing, because that fear and that reward is, I'm more fearful of success than I am for failure, because success, then people expect you to show up. Expectations start rising, and the world starts expecting things of you. People start expecting things of you when you're successful, right? And that's scary. For me, that's scary. Failing, it's like, hey, I tried it, check, next thing. When I opened Collective, and we built it from, I mean, not the ground because it is an existing building, but no HVAC, no walls, no alarm systems, no plumbing, in Nashville proper. I was not sitting on $1 million of extra money burning a hole in my pocket. You know what I mean? I have lived a debt-free life, because I live within my means and I travel within my means. And that's where I'm happy. I don't need things to represent my success. I love experiences. And so when I opened this, I borrowed against everything I owned in a debt-free life. So I borrowed against my house, like everything that the bank would give me a penny, I scratched together to build this, knowing it has to work. I mean, first it has to work because I just invested a lot of money, but really I knew this was needed. I wanted to serve others with this because I knew what it did for me and I want others to experience that. But it wasn't because, oh, well, let me just try it and I have this extra money sitting around. I wasn't foolish. I raised some money through crowdfunding, but really I found a bank that would loan it to me against my net worth. And that's how I did it. You know what I mean? And then 5 weeks later, I closed down with the pandemic because no one said put community together. And I'm really blessed because I was in a advisory group of 26 people who opened up co-working spaces in 2019, 2020. 26 of us on conference calls, kind of, what are you using? What systems are you using? How are you generating revenue? 18 of those closed. And so for me, it is more confirmation than ever that this is exactly what I was supposed to do, even if it's not something that generates me a revenue or an income. So
I think it's amazing that you actually, and I think, it was probably extremely timely, don't you think? You were putting it together. Obviously, COVID came. Would have been a little bit of a different story had COVID come to you like a year later.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because of when it did, it put everyone at home, right? Like, so
Right.
This is like the divine intervention, right?
Right.
Is, hey, I'm going to shut you down and you haven't even began to start and your rent still needs to be paid. You still have to pay off that furniture bill. You know what I mean? Your programs still have to be running and operational, but I could never have been handed, the world is going to make people stay at home and layer families on top of each other, all on devices, all on Zooms, running businesses from dining room tables, their bed, their closets. Like, I love the ones where all the women are in their closet on Zoom because their husband's really loud at the dining room table.
From anywhere, sure, yeah.
And, or roommates, you have 5 roommates in a house, or you have 3 roommates and they're all running their businesses too, because you're in your 20s or your early 30s. I never, ever could have predicted that the world would actually hand me the misery of what it looks like to work from home and shove it right in people's faces. And then teach us that, wow, what happens when we're forced to do it, instead of like, you've chosen to do it. So you create a place that's it's your energy. It probably has great smells like that motivate you. You have great lighting, I can tell, but not everyone had that. They're in closets. Their kids are on Zoom all day long in class and they're trying to conduct business meetings because they're a VP. It really taught people how much more community was important. And I think for women, how much more important it is for them to get out of their home, which makes them perform better when they are home. And so now, I mean, as we're sitting here, I have pop-ups coming up. We just signed up a new member just now that just popped up into my computer screen. And now we've hit our goal numbers. People are signing up, people are coming together, they're collaborating. When we hit January, we did a market research. We had about $300,000 in B2B amongst our members. We're now over $5 million. So because these people have worked together in this space, they've referred each other $5 million in revenue.
That's absolutely phenomenal. That is, I mean, I don't know why. I mean, that's something that you can only dream about creating in your life, and it's come together in such a beautiful way. And whatever the hiccup was an opportunity. And I think that's the takeaway here from what you just said. The story what you just told about opening is that sometimes we have a tendency to think that things are the worst, and that because we have a model in our minds of what we think our business should be, or our life should be like, and then we're introduced to something new and we have to be open to it. We have to be open to making that change. and perceiving that that's not a bad thing. Our perceptions drive absolutely everything. And when your perception of this COVID thing isn't necessarily the worst thing, this could be the best thing for my business ever, for this collective, because it's created this opportunity, and I'm going to take advantage of the opportunity. And so that when we exit out of COVID, you're going to be well on your way to helping those in your collective generate
close this door.
what they need to do. Sure.
I'm just closing this door real quick. It's going to get really loud all of a sudden.
You're in a collective with hundreds of people. But again,
I am. I was like, it's going to get loud.
Yeah, probably is. But we've gone on about, oh my God, almost an hour now. And I've loved talking with you. I'm enjoying the opportunity to connect with you in a different platform, in a different way, a different level. And I hope that our audience has gotten something out of this, that they can, they've got some takeaways that they can apply to their own lives. Because I think your transition from corporate world to entrepreneur, photography business, and into this collective has been a really cool journey. It's cool to hear about. I, again, can't wait to experience it, because I can envision it. I can feel it actually, right through the Zoom here, just looking at you. I can imagine what it's like. And I kind of wish there was something like that around here, for entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, to be able to come together. There's so many unique businesses. You are, of course, in a nucleus, an area that is a city large enough to have not only the capacity of people to take advantage of the businesses that are within your collective, but you've got a good pool of clients to pick from. And that's, I think, one of the more important aspects of what you've got going for yourself. You're in an ideal place, doing an ideal thing with ideal people, right? Yeah. So
I think, like you said, that it exists everywhere, and maybe they're just smaller spaces, or, it just looks a little bit different, but it feels the same. And it's someone in that area willing to create that environment and pull people together.
I think it's awesome.
And it's needed. I agree with you.
I think that for, in my view, with this whole concept has really, it's made me feel really awesome that it's actually happened, and that the women there are experiencing the kind of creative inspiration that, and you created that nucleus that's helping people feel good about themselves. Because, to me, life is about feeling. And when the women, I'm sure, walk into that space, and even your customers walk into the space, they can feel the energy, and the women in there feel better. You've created a feel-good factory, okay? A feel-good factory.
I'm gonna put that on the door. This is a feel-good factory.
It's a feel-good factory, and
totally using that.
and it's true, because people underestimate the value of feelings. Feelings are the creative, are the paintbrush with which you create life. That's what feelings are. They are the paintbrush that with which you create your reality, who you are as an individual. The imagination is nothing without feeling applied to it. You have to have the feeling. That's the go-to 1-2 punch for being able to manifest what you want in your life. And I could tell the moment I met you that you really felt good about yourself, and you felt good about what you were doing. And that adds a lot, in my view, to why you've been able to do what you do. It starts with you. You have a great sense of self, and a lot of self-love, and that also emanates outward. And I'm sure our audience can feel it. The people in your collective, it's why you're attracting these people into your life, in my view. Okay. So
thank you.
I've loved having this time with you. I look forward to the opportunity to, at some point, come up here and talking with your people. That will happen whenever the time is exactly right for it, when they're ready for it. And I'm going to enjoy meeting each and every one of them if I can. That's going to be a wonderful
Maybe it's a
thing.
live podcast. We'll plant the seed here. Maybe it's a live podcast opportunity for you to sit with a couple of really big movers and shakers.
Exactly, a live Facebook opportunity to record something that others can benefit from. I think there are many, many more women out there who can benefit. More people. I think there's a lot of, look, men have a lot to learn from what you've created there.
I agree.
Well. So I don't necessarily want to leave the men out of it.
Well, thank you.
But because men need to get more in touch with their own intuition and feelings, and be able to guide their lives in a direction that creates that inspiration in their lives. So thank you very much for
Absolutely.
being with me
Thank
in
you.
this podcast, and I'm really looking forward to speaking with you again, and staying connected with you and all the great things that you're doing. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you for inviting me, and thank your audience for staying tuned in, connecting.
Not a problem. Not a problem at all. Until next time, everybody, this has been the Life Moves podcast. I'm Michael J. Russ. My guest has been Kathy Thomas. And please feel welcome to share this with everyone you know, because there are a lot of people out there who are going to benefit from everything that's been said in this hour. So be well, take care, and keep the great vibes going, okay? Take care, Kathy.